What up, everybody? Before I get started with this episode, just want to let y'all know the Von Michael Sketch Show tickets are on sale now. If you haven't got your ticket, I don't understand why you haven't gotten it yet. Because this is going to be a dope show. It's May 2nd, 7 p.m. You can purchase tickets right now for $5 at vonmichael.com/sketch show. It's going to be an hour-long show, digital. So that means you can watch from the comfort of your home. I'm going to have some hilarious stand-up comedians as well as pre-recorded sketches. So go ahead and get your tickets now for $5 at vonmichael.com/sketch show. Now let's get started with this podcast. Welcome to the classroom, y'all. This is What's the Lesson podcast. Von Michael here. I'm here by myself this week, man. Very excited. It's going to be a dope episode. We're going to recap last week's episode that we had with DR.LINDSAY WEISNER. We talked about mental health, man. I learned a lot. Man. In this journey of learning about mental health, I had no idea what mental health was. You hear everybody talking about it, but it's one of them things where it's just like, I felt very like, I didn't want to just ask somebody, yo, what's mental health? Because everybody was talking about it. Mental health. You hear this on TV show, hear it on the radio, you hear it on the newspaper, see it on the newspaper, you see it there. Everybody's talking about it. And I'm just like, yo, what is mental health? Because when I thought about mental health, first thing that popped in my head was Law and Order, somebody pleading insanity. I'm like, okay, so that means something is wrong if you're talking about mental health. But your mental health doesn't absolutely mean that something is wrong. We touched on it with Dr. Wise, and we're gonna get to that, and we figured out what the mental health was. Well, first of all, I would have to say that it was very educational listening to her. If you haven't checked out the episode last week with her, go ahead and check that out first, because this episode isn't going to make sense if you haven't listened to that yet. So pretty much we started out, we talked about, I asked her, what is mental health? And essentially what it is, it's on a spectrum, and it's how you are coping in life, you know. Um, are you able to, deal with your emotions, get back up, make a plan? Or, are you can't deal with them, you're going through a lot, and you might be using substance or coping with some other type of things, and you might need some help, and it's somewhere in between all of those, is different ways that um, you are on that spectrum. So just knowing that was just like, wow, okay, this isn't, some foreign language, because I was scared. I am gonna lie to you. When I heard mental health, I was just like, this seems like a lot. I need to bring a notepad, a notebook, and I'm gonna have to study for this. But actually, a lot of it is stuff that we already know in our life. We just have to, it's stuff we already know, but we just have to apply it, and put in the work, and practice these dope things. So she told us, about that. She told us about her daughter. One way she know her daughter was coping well was she falls down, get back up, and come up with a plan, to figure things out. And it's just like, oh, okay, that's life. That's part of being an adult. But we've come to find out, a lot of people in this world aren't adults, but we're on the road to doing that. So, in a nutshell, mental health is, the ability to cope in life, by yourself. And it's really hit home for me, especially, me, somebody who's in sobriety, because, at one point, I was using drugs and alcohol to be able to cope in life, and that's a road I want to go down. Quit drinking. And then I also was a emotional eater. At one point, I was using that to cope. Um, so, I definitely had my issues and something that I had to work on. So if you're one of them people who, you know, isn't able to cope, don't feel bad. We all have our own issues and stuff like that. Look, I ate a lot of popcorn yesterday. Like, I was kind of sad, you know. Yeah, I was sad that, I didn't have enough money to buy my Hulu account. So, well, I had the money, I just didn't want to spend the money. But the point is, it's gonna be okay if something is going on with you. It's just something in there. We're gonna get through this though. So that was the first thing we talked about with Dr. Wiseman was, what exactly is mental health, and she explained that for us well. Then we kind of went down the ropes, of more of deeper into the mental health, and Dr. Weisner told us some of the stigmas behind it. And I really think this was a great conversation because one another thing, not only just learning about mental health, but also learning about you know the learning about why it hasn't been so accepted. Especially as men, I would say men. We it's not really pushed on us to deal with our emotions. I think I see my dad cry one time, and he was only crying because my mom didn't make dinner. And after that, my mom made sure she made dinner all the time. And and that was the only time he cried. But other than that, like if something was going on sad, I was always told, man, walk it off. You're gonna be all right. You a man up. So so going to therapy and stuff like that was not something that I thought that I should do. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was crazy, and stuff like that. So those are some of the stigmas behind mental health, and that's what we talked about with Dr. Wiseman, um, as well as from a female perspective, if a woman, quote unquote, shows any sign of like anger or something like that, then she looks like that's wrong. Something's going on. As well as if a boy shows some type of anger, it's kind of looked as is, oh, he's just a boy. So there's a lot of stigmas and stuff like that behind the whole mental health thing, and we went into a deep conversation about that and how can we overcome that. And I think the biggest thing, learning from her is that we need to see more people in our field, in the mental health field, so that we feel more comfortable doing it. Because it's kind of like watching a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be honest with you. I get tired. I'm a black dude. I get tired of just watching white people movies. I'm like, yo, it's cool, but it's like, man, I want to see people that look like me. So it's the same thing with mental health. Like, I want to me personally. I feel more comfortable talking to somebody that looks like me. So I want to see more black men, more black women. Because I feel like there's certain things that they can truly understand, certain experiences that they will understand. You know what I'm saying? Like understand, like for example, if I if I was white, and I wanted to talk about how hard it is to find something that's gluten free, I would want to get a white therapist because I knew my white therapist would know how the struggle of gluten free. You know what I'm saying? But if I want to talk about racism, I definitely want to talk to a black therapist about that. So um I think, and which is kind of hard learning from Dr. Wiseman because she talked about how in this field they don't make a lot of money. And when she said that, like first of all, it explained a lot for me when she said that they don't spend a lot of money because my therapist always has an attitude, and I just never understood it. I thought she just didn't eat before our sessions and she was just hangry, but she doesn't make a lot of money, so no wonder she's upset. Anybody come to work and they know that they struggling financially, they would be mad. I would be mad. So I get it now. So that's a whole nother topic. We need to figure out how to get our therapists more money. But my point is that um, one of the reasons why I feel like we don't see a lot of people is because there isn't a lot of people that look like us in this field, and it's not promoted. Um, and I feel like she hit on a great point. We need more celebrities talking about it, and I hate that. I hate that we give so much validation to celebrities and stars and famous people. And me, I'm on a journey of becoming, big time and stuff like that. And I hate it, but that's the society that we live in. So um we got to make mental health cool. We got to make therapy cool. So if you are a entertainer, comedian, a rapper, and stuff like that, talk about it, promote it. Because this all of this does is better our community. If you're dealing with people all the time that have attitudes or mad or some type of codependency or addiction, and you feel like it's an issue and it's affecting your life, man, start talking about mental health and making it popular. Because the more you talk about it, the more buzzes, the more it brings awareness to everybody else. So that's why I made it my journey to talk about mental health on my platforms. That's why I talk about it here on this podcast. Because I'm like, man, we need to encourage more people to to know about it so that we can get more black therapists. You know what I'm saying? Like just like we wanted more black people in film and TV. Like we had to figure out a way to make that happen. So now we got to figure out how to get more people of color into this field. And hopefully they can make some money. Because I know it's a struggle. I know it's hard. You know, you going to college, you telling your can you imagine that? You telling your parents, hey, I'm going to college to get me a job that doesn't pay a lot of money. It's like, hold on. So you telling me you're going to 4 years of school? Can you imagine a parent like thinking about that? So child, you telling me you're going to 4 years of school to get a job that doesn't make a lot of money? Can you imagine that conversation? It sounds like me for me being a comedian. So I totally get it. You know, my parents tell me all the time. They always let me know every time I talk to them who's hiring. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. I tell jokes for a living. But, you know, I totally get it. So I guess my point is that we're in the process. It's not gonna happen overnight, about popularizing mental health and therapy and stuff like that. But I definitely think that we are on the right track, and doing that, and we're going to see that down the road. So I'm really excited to see where we go with that. So talking to Dr. Wiseman, that was some of the stigmas behind it, you know, and yeah, especially like the black community. I didn't know what therapy was until like my 20s. Like I saw what therapy was, but it was always from like a white TV show. So that was my idea of therapy. And I didn't know exactly what it was. You know, I saw people talking, but it's like nobody explained to me, oh, this is what therapy. And it's crazy because I remember I was going through a breakup and one of my white friends told me, it's like, yo, you need a therapist. And I'm like, I took offense to it. 'Cause I was like, "What do you mean I need a therapist? Like, what the hell do you mean I need a therapist? Like, are you calling me crazy?" And and that just came from the lack of knowledge of what it was, you know. So it's like at the point now, yeah, man. So like I didn't even know. Like my friend telling me I need therapy, I took offense to it. But now you know, talking to Doctor Wisner about that, that was a friend that actually had some great advice, man. Like if there's ever time in a situation that you just feel like, you know, emotionally you're going through a lot, man, go talk to somebody. It's no shame in the talking to somebody. It's what I learned. Like that's a good thing. And a lot of times they can give you a better um it's better to do that and then somebody that you actually know. For one thing is you have an outside opinion. So they have no type of ties and what's going on with you and stuff like that. And second, they're professional. You know what I'm saying? Like who want doesn't want to deal with a professional? Like I wouldn't go to a comedy show and expect the cook from McDonald's to be on stage telling jokes. No, I want somebody who's been telling jokes for about 10 years and deliver and actually do their job. You get what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't ask a trash man to come be my plumber. So, you know, don't, you know, ask, you know, go if you're dealing with something, talk to a professional. And what I really liked what Dr. Wiseman told us about is also is, you know, you actually have to find the right therapist for you, you know, because there's a lot of therapists out there. And you might have went one time and had a bad experience. But the great thing is there's more therapists who do it a different type of way. So go out there and find your right therapist. And a lot of times she said that they offer a free consultation. So what you can do is, you know, talk to them for about that 15 minutes and figure out exactly, you know, their plan and process for helping you to cope and deal with your things and go from there and see if it fits for you. You might pay for a session and then if it's not a good fit, then, you know, you find somebody else. So definitely do that. And don't don't try to just get free sessions because we like we said aren't getting paid a lot. So make sure you're doing the right thing. You know, so paying them comes out your insurance, so you'll be fine. So yeah, some of the stigmas behind it. I really think it comes down to just lack of resources, lack of knowledge, and stuff like that. So um, we got to make it popular, man. We got to do it. Um, make it cool to talk to somebody, deal with your issues and stuff like that. Um, and I'm really excited. I'm really glad that Dr. Weisner talked to us about that. Um, then we went into triggers. Um, and triggers is like one of them like things right now that's like a buzzword. Like you hear everybody talking about it. What is a trigger? And essentially it's like an emotional response to something. It's an emotional response. You know, you hear this a lot of times. Some people might say it as, "Oh, my buttons were pushed," and um, we live in a society right now like we got to be very careful and stuff like that. And a lot of times when people don't know, like when it comes to like triggers and stuff like that, like especially like if you have like an addiction, like you might have certain triggers that goes to that addiction. You get what I'm saying? Like I know for me, being an emotional eater, anytime that I would get a bill, I would have to eat emotionally. And I didn't even know this because subconsciously I just did it for so long that it was just like I saw some finance and then I would go eat. So a bill was like a trigger for me. And a lot of times you need to go see a therapist so you can figure out exactly what your triggers are and stuff like that. Um, or if like you respond to something in a certain type of way, um, and you might be like an overreaction, that might be a trigger. So these are things that with therapy, talking to a professional, you can figure out and deal with. So yeah, go talk to that professional, and they should be able to help you overcome these type of things. And it was a great conversation with Dr. Weisner. She taught us a lot. Um, she she explained mental health in a way that it was just like 2 plus 2 equals 4, and essentially mental health is just about coping in life. That's what it is. It's about coping. How you dealing with life, and how you pushing through it. How you surviving and stuff like that. So, man, that's the recap for last week's episode. Next week we're gonna have Dr. Weisner back on, and we're gonna talk about trauma. It's gonna be a dope episode. That's something that I think that we really need to hit on, especially in the Black community. We know the trauma that was passed down through generations. And let's talk about that, have that conversation, start learning about it, bring awareness to it. And yeah, I'm excited about that. After that, in the coming weeks, I'm going to have some other therapists on. We're going to be talking about things such as emotional eating, personality disorder, bipolarness, everything, just mental health and just life in general. Because our goal is to bring awareness and make self improvement and become a better version of ourselves. So, in recap, um, mental health was about how you coping through life, how you dealing with it, and can you get through it. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Anyways, y'all, that's been me, Mychael, with this week episode. I'll see y'all back next week. Peace.